Blood filled my mouth before my body hit the floor. The echo of his fist kept ringing in my head as my shoulder tore loose from its socket. I can still feel the carpet fibers pressed into my cheek, soaked dark, the metallic tang of blood on my tongue. He stood above me, chest heaving, eyes full of fury. My sister didn't scream. She didn't even blink. She folded her arms and, with cold calculation, said, "If you'd signed for the mortgage, none of this would be necessary." That was her response to my broken body, not alarm, not compassion, only arithmetic. I crawled to my parents' front door, one arm useless, blood streaking my shirt, begging for help. My father froze. My mother dissolved into sobs. Then everything went black. When I came to, officers were already in the house. What they uncovered after that visit was worse than I'd ever imagined. My sister had been my defender once. As children, she chased away the bullies, bandaged scraped knees, and murmured promises that she'd always protect me. I believed her. When she married him, I convinced myself he would care for her the same way she cared for me. He greeted me with a stiff, gentlemanly smile, a firm handshake, and the line, "Family is everything." I trusted both of them. That's what made the betrayal so corrosive. It didn't come from strangers. It came from the people I would have died for. It began subtly. He tossed jokes about money across the table at family dinners, comments about how stable my job was, how disciplined I was with my savings. My sister laughed a fraction too loudly. Then favors turned into requests, a small loan, then a larger one, then asking me to guarantee the mortgage. When I refused, their tone shifted, softer at first, then heavier. "It's part of who you are," my sister said once, leaning in. "If you care about me, you'll help. But love and finance are different currencies." I declined. The smiles vanished. The atmosphere thickened. And then they punished me for standing my ground. Lying in the hospital, arm immobilized and my jaw wired shut, two truths settled over me. First, they believed I was powerless. Second, they had no idea how dangerous I could be if I chose silence instead of fury. I didn't shout for justice or scatter accusations to anyone who would listen. I listened. I watched. I let my wounds close while I gathered what I needed. I started assembling their lies piece by piece. I dug through his business sheets and found kickbacks hidden in phony invoices, traced unpaid debts buried under forged paperwork, and pulled her credit history into focus to reveal the strain they'd placed on my parents. I kept records like treasures, locking them where only I could reach them. I refused to let revenge ride on anger. I wanted it engineered, exact. My plan had 3 stages. First, play the broken man. I stopped arguing and stopped resisting. Let them wear the arrogance of someone who thinks they've won. Such people become careless. Second, infiltrate. I followed trails, mapped their corrupt transactions, and collected proof. Every forged document, every fraudulent transfer. Third, set the trap. Then I went to my parents' house, composed, still bearing my injuries, but steadier than I looked. I laid out the documentation in front of them. Contracts, bank statements, tax irregularities, the ledger of lies that showed how my sister and her husband had been stripping my parents' resources. My father's pale face burned me more than my scars. I handed copies to the bank, to the tax office, to the police. Not a single institution, but a coordinated strike from every angle. I lined up the dominoes and watched. When everything collapsed, I was there. I walked into their home without permission. The sling was gone by then. My body had mended, but my presence still unsettled them both. He sat at the table surrounded by bills like spent shrapnel. My sister's phone buzzed constantly, creditors, attorneys, investigators. He glared at me, eyes rimmed with red. "You set this in motion," he spat. I didn't deny it. I only stood calmly, letting him see me. My sister's voice cracked. "Why would you do this? You're my brother." I leaned forward so she could read every fresh scar and every hard lesson etched across my face. "You left me there bleeding for a signature," I said. "You chose the money over the child who trusted you." Then the knock came, not tentative, not polite. Officers poured in with papers and warrants. Charges were read: fraud, assault, embezzlement. The expression on their faces wasn't anger anymore. It was the dawning horror of people who suddenly understand they are not untouchable. When the handcuffs closed around his wrists, he cursed. My sister sat like a statue, hollow-eyed, finally seeing what her choices had created. I didn't smirk while they were taken away. I didn't dance on their ruin. Retribution isn't a spectacle, it's the restoration of balance. That night, bandages still faint on my skin, I watched their house across the street go dark for the last time. People asked me later if I regretted what I'd done, whether I felt remorse for destroying my sister's life along with his. But regret belongs to those who strike first. I merely finished the work they had started. In the quiet of my thoughts, one steady fact remained. They mistook blood for weakness. But it was blood that taught me how merciless I could be when I chose to be.